already, as if we are in the middle of the year. We've seen people marching, doing that, others doing that. It's very early in the year. Welcome. We must be ready ourselves to bigger battles building up to 2024. And I'm sure this was the beginning of just wanting to declare that bigger contestation moving forward. You've got municipalities that are not stable. People are posing vote of non-confidence every now and then. But I think they copy from us, because even us here in the National Assembly, we are consistently being made to either defend, confirm, deny a vote of no confidence that are generally becoming the business of the day. It is in the politics of the day. Let's accept it and let's live with it. I have seen the minister and the deputy ministers are already into the meeting. Welcome, minister and the deputy ministers, and all members and officials that are in the meeting. As said, let's ready ourselves to a bigger battle moving forward. You are all welcome into the meeting. Can we then observe a silence, a moment of silence for meditation and or prayer? Thank you very much. We are all welcome. The agenda is before us. The first item in the agenda is briefing by the Department of Water and Sanitation on the second quarter expenditure and performance report 2022-2023 financial year. Good morning, Minister Mtunu and the team.
Chairperson.
Yeah.
You are reading from a wrong agenda.
Oh, okay. Oh, this one is cut short. Yes. Read that you have cut. It is a piece of agenda that you sent to me. Read the correct one.
It's apologies and then consideration and adoption of draft minutes dated 29 November and 1st December 2022. But the next agenda item is apologies.
Yeah, as I'm saying, the agenda sent to me, it is I only see the middle part of it. I don't see the. Can you open it properly?
Can other members see it properly, or is only the chairperson who's got the problem?
I can see mine properly.
We can see the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, it does not help that it is seen by you, but most of I must share the meeting.
You need to buy a new gadget.
Yeah, please. That offer is an offer. It can't be withdrawn.
No, it can't be withdrawn, so that at least you have a proper gadget.
Okay. So you're saying because to me I only see IES here on the apologies. I can't see what is written there. But I think the agenda is apologies.
Yes. It's the apologies from Mr. Maybeck. He's unable to attend the meeting due to urgent responsibilities, Chairperson. And also, Mr. Ge might leave the meeting early due to another commitment in another meeting, but she's here on the platform. Those are the only two apologies.
Okay. And she can
Morning,
send an
Chair.
apology.
My
to the-
apologies. I do have load shedding. I might be in and out. Miyoko. My apologies, Chair.
Okay. Yeah.
Now we are on the minutes, Chairperson. Can you see them?
No, it came out immediately. It went into half again. But go through them because I can't read them.
It's the draft minutes of the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation, the meeting that we had on the physical meeting that we had on the 29th of November, 2022 in Parliament. The agenda was the briefing by the Department of Water and Sanitation on the second quarter expenditure and performance report for 2022-2023 financial year. Progress on the National Resource Infrastructure Strategy, third edition. Consideration and adoption of minutes dated 8th November. And a consideration and adoption of the oversight report on the petition of the Nandoni Complaints Resolution Committee in Limpopo Province. Attendance by committee members that are submitted apologies were Mr. Person, Mr. Mayberg, Mr. Hendricks, and Ms. Mushlala was absent. Chairperson. The meeting adjourned at 15:30, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. As I'm saying, I'm struggling to follow the minutes. It are really enough. But I was part of the meeting, and I read the minutes on the other gadgets. But on this one, I can't. Let's hear what members are saying. Mr. Basson?
I did not attend that meeting, Chair.
Yeah, I wanted to raise this point. Mr. Maybeck is generally most of the time apologizing to meetings, man. She must attend meetings.
Yeah, I will take that up, Chairperson, but I was involved in a by-election. I got leave not to attend.
Yours we
so
had
that-
on that day. Yours we had on that day. So I'm saying it is not a common practice that you're always apologizing. But with Mr. Maybeck, it is.
I will deal with that, Chairperson.
So, members who were in the meeting, there are the minutes.
Chair,
Yes.
good morning. Good morning, Chair, and good morning to everyone who's connected. And compliments of the new year. I was part of the meeting. Can I move for the adoption of these minutes as a true reflection of what transpired in that meeting? Thank you.
Any seconder?
Chairperson,
Yes. Is that Maddie?
yes, I was part of this meeting and this is a true reflection, and I second the proposal made by MP Seki. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chairperson, the next set of minutes are for the 2nd of December. It was the consideration and adoption of the draft reports of the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation, the overview of the 4th quarter expenditure report, and then analysis of the 1st quarter expenditure report of the Department of Water and Sanitation, Vote 41 for 2020 and 2023 financial year.
You are saying for 2020 and 2023.
Analysis of the first quarter expenditure report of the department for 2022 and 2023, the first quarter, Chairperson.
Yes, which is, you were saying 2020 and 2023. That was my concern.
Oh, okay, it's 2022 and 2023 financial year.
Okay.
The only member that was not present in the meeting was Mr. Person. Submitted an apology.
Yeah, I was going for by-elections, which we clobbered him, by the way.
Chairperson?
Yes.
No, can I please just check it? Can you please go down, Nozipho, go down on apologies and presence and absence? Because I see you said Mr. Bason sent an apology, but when you captured it, you said she is absent. So
Apologies, it was Mr. Person was absent. No, there was no apology. My mistake, Mr. Mushala. It's correct that he was absent.
I'll send you the proof that I have sent you an apology for that meeting, but I will send that again to you.
All right, Mr. Person.
No, where Mrs. Musala or Member Musala is correct is that the minutes must say what was said then. And if they are corrected, then it will. She's contesting whether it is correct to say that he sent an apology when he did not write it, and in the minutes you said he was absent. So we must just correct it later. But for purpose of the minutes, I'm not sure whether Ms. Honorable Mhlala, you are saying the minutes are not correct, that they indicate absence, but they talk about apology, or you're saying they indicate apology and they talk about absence. What are you saying?
no, I was saying it is recorded absent, but when she speaks, Nozipho, she said there was an apology, but on the paper it's absent. So she has to clarify us between the two, which one is correct, whether he was absent or he was, because when she was speaking now, she said Mr. Person sent an apology, but written down, it says Mr. Person is absent. So she had to clarify us what really happened. But I agree with you, Chairperson. If there's an error on Nozipho's side, the next meeting minutes, it will be there that actually Mr. Person was not absent. He was he apologized for the meeting.
Yeah, and I'm sure she also confirmed that she will. Mr. Person?
Yes, I will share the apology. I will check my records, Chairperson. If there was an apology, I will correct it and then I will share it with the committee. I'll go through my files and check.
Chairperson, good morning.
That's okay. Thank you.
With those corrections, I move, Chair.
Yeah, no, you're seconding because somebody moved already. Was it Honorable Patrice Peterson?
No, Chairperson, Mr. Tseki is moving.
It's moving.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Can I get a second to the minutes?
I second the
Second.
Sis Nancy, get yourself a better spot. Yes, it was seconded
I
already.
second, Chairperson.
No, thanks. Okay, thank you very much.
We are on the program now, Chairperson. Can you see it?
I think I do. Yeah, the program I see. Why? So you're choosing what I must see.
It's your gadget that is choosing, Chairperson.
Oh, but this time it shows the other side. It does not show the end. Okay. The program is here. There is a program. We start from today, the 31st of January. We are already in the meeting. Then there is the date of the 14th of February. No, it does not show properly. And
Yes, it's the
14th
14th of February, Chairperson.
only.
Kaloku, you are still reading, not only, and then we are here.
Okay. There we are. Then the 7th of March. What I say?
The 21st of February, 2023, Chairperson.
The
Imperatives of the sonnet. Can you say that part?
No, my gadget is a problem. No, it shows 21 February, 9:30.
Yes.
And that imperative only, it shows that imperative, but it's fine. Those of you who see the programs, let's look at it. The 21st and the 28th is the briefing by the department on the third quarter. I can see the piecemeal of that. The 7th is the briefing again. The 14th is the briefing again. It is the overview. And the 28th is the overview. Then we're going for Community Oversight Week. We are going to visit Free State, you're saying, as agreed in the last term.
Yes, as it was agreed.
Yeah. Members, there
Chairperson?
we are. Yes. Member Thala?
No, thanks so much, Chairperson. We can see the program, but my concern is only on these things of a virtual meeting. When are they going to come to the end? Because I think we've passed the corona stage. I noticed last year there was a time where you were even calling for one meeting physical. But now when I look at these ones, they are all just virtual meetings. So when are we going to meet so that this thing of virtual meetings, actually they must come to an end. The reason being that we are now in a load shedding season or what, I don't know. But we experience load shedding problems at sometimes we can't connect and all those things. And we end up losing very important issues, which we had to discuss about. And lastly, Chairperson, the issue of oversight. I don't know whether must I propose from this thing. I can see here we are going to visit Free State for the bucket eradication program. When are we going to also visit the Northern Cape also with regards to these issues of the bucket eradication program? Because it's not only in Free State where the people of this country are experiencing this bucket eradication program. I think Northern Cape also is experiencing this thing. When can we go to Northern Cape to do the same thing of the bucket eradication program visit? It is long time overdue, Chairperson. Thank you.
Yeah, remember we agreed last year that we'll visit Free State because Free State has been committed to finish their bucket eradication by March, end of March. The Northern Cape, I think, is finishing somewhere in August. So the plan is there that we'll visit all of them. We'll visit all of them. It's just that if you realize Free State and Northern Cape is far apart from one another, you can't take one visit. You have to drive from Free State to Kimberley or take a. But remember, it is not necessarily in Kimberley where we're talking about. It's in the far remote areas of Northern Cape. So we are going to go to Northern Cape. We are just starting with Free State. But when we call for a physical meeting, you don't come. You stay in Vembe for your own conferences. So you stop conferencing and come to physical meetings.
But the,
But I hear you. You
the
are
question
correct.
is, let's also go and let's also think about the thing of the physical meeting.
Yeah.
I think the reason why we
Yeah.
had this thing, it was because of the COVID-19. Now it's gone. We must meet, discuss issues. We are experiencing load shedding. There's another disaster now of load shedding. So let's run away from that one and now go physical because the COVID-19 is gone. Sit down and discuss issues. Thank you.
I hear you. I hear you. I think that we must not discard what you're saying. But remember, just now you are going to lower your participation, building up for general elections. But I hear you. It is agreed. We must find a way of getting dates that we sit physical, no simple. Look at them where our spaces are available, and let's slaughter in. The program is here. If any of the days, one or two of the days here can be physical, we might appreciate that. And no simple. Look out for that.
Noted, Chairperson.
Yeah, and Chairperson, before lastly, we can also meet somewhere in Pretoria. Is not a problem because there's no parliament anymore there. That thing is now in ashes. So if possible, you can also even organize around here because majority of us are from this side. If you think of saving the transport costs and everything. Thank you.
And Nasipa, look out for a space for a physical meeting. If we are going to sit in Durban with a cost which is lower than that, it's fine. But Cape Town is still the center point where we need to sit to meet. That's far. But if you have got a cost-effective way, let's have it.
I was running late because I had to do something with the portfolio committee.
Nasipa,
Chairperson,
On my
let's
way
move
out.
for the adoption for the program.
I thought that Memusala was moving, but she was raising the concerns that we need also to fit in the possibility of physical meetings. But she was not opposing the program now.
Mr. Tsaki's hand is up.
As what?
Kelly Westbrook. The 7th of March, the tariffs. Since we started this parliament, we never agreed with Salga and the department. I'm not sure how could we pave. Maybe we can ask you, Chair, to prepare that meeting to be a fruitful meeting so that we should not continue to argue as we have been arguing in the last 3 years for these tariffs. Thank you, Chair.
And you are then seconding the program.
Yes, Chair, with that note.
Who moved?
Okay. Memusala.
No, I did not move, Chairperson. Allow your people to move. Allow your people to move.
You are my people. You are my people. This is a committee, it's not a political meeting.
I move, Chair. With your people, we'll move later.
Mutala, are you going to be dismissed for moving for adoption of the minutes?
No, I want to allow your people a space. I don't want
Chair,
allow the ANC to
Chair,
move
not your
as
people.
Chair, my hand is up. Mema Tuba. Chair, ne ke re le nna ke second agenda, ke second program the way it is with that amendment to say we'll look for the physical meeting. How I wish that physical meeting can be the one of the 7th. That is my proposal in second what has been proposed.
Thanks, Liranjana.
Mashu, please, ma.
Yes, Likat.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's move, Nasipa.
We're handing over to the department chairperson for the presentation.
Good morning, Minister Mkunu. I'm told that you have been elected in some meeting, these big meetings of your party. Congratulations. And the Deputy Minister Mashobo also, I'm told you have been elected in that big meeting of your party that we are not a member of ourselves. Congratulations. Talk to us, Minister Mkunu.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Sorry, Minister. Next time when it's us, you must do the same thing. When we
I congratulate everybody.
Yeah, you must always do that.
It
must not depend with the ANC. Watoma, John.
If they are the first to be elected, why must
thank you very much, Chair. We have DMs here, we have the department to report to you as the portfolio committee, and I greet you, Chair, and wish you all the best for 2023 and all the honorable members. A healthy working year that we're looking forward to, all of us. We are going to give you a long report touching on partnerships. Just a comment there, it's something that we believe is one of the pillars in terms of our broader strategy to deliver water in the country against the backdrop of limited resources financially. We are talking about partnerships both within and among the public sector, with our sister departments, with other spheres of government. There is an operation already in a number of projects, especially agriculture, to start with as an example, where we're partnering on canals, even though this is still to start very soon in the year, or early in the year. But we're also partnering with other spheres in a number of projects via takeoffs by other spheres of government. These are some of the projects that we're going to be rolling out during the year. And case in point here is Umkomazi. The other case in point is Umzimvubu. Both of them were at an advanced stage in terms of completing those offtakes going forward. But of course, with the private sector per se, you know about Val Khamagara, you now know about this other 24 billion partnership project with Libalelo in Limpopo. The second thing that we'll touch on will be reconfiguration of boards, which we are about to complete by end of March. Others have been completed, they are being implemented, but where it required measures between two boards and so on, they're in the process by end of March. And in some cases, we had to dissolve or de-establish one board, and two are merging. That will result into two boards that we have had in the short past, or boards getting reduced by two from the number in the past to now. And then poorly spent government grants, they will talk about that. The department, it's something that we are managing and are looking at amidst the demands for water all over in terms of reticulation. And then there'll also be an issue on Noorgedacht, and then the constitutional and legislative imperatives for government support and interventions where necessary in municipal water. We understand ourselves to be in broad agreement with SALGA and with the municipalities that there are constitutional and legislative imperatives in this regard. But we're not ticking boxes here. We are making interventions that are well considered, and they take different forms. Very few on around section 63 and 139. But in the main, we are intervening to help. On Monday, we will be meeting the Northwest government and all municipalities to agree on implementation programs to bring in water after our visit, second round visit to the whole of the Northwest, which we did 2 weeks ago. And then we established a steering committee at the provincial level and a technical committee. It has already spent 3 days meeting last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and they've completed and they're refining. This is going to see us working together with the provincial and the local government in a coordinated, a unified and streamlined way to cut a situation where we have to go to municipality by municipality because there's no time for that. So we established a technical committee across Northwest, and we're going to produce an implementation plan for each of the municipalities for sustainable projects to deliver water. Others will be short-term, others will be longer, medium to longer, and others will be a combination. We will be using sustainable, we will be implementing sustainable projects, but also where necessary, we will be doing groundwater projects that will be consolidated as per need in each of the areas. So this follows constitutional and legislative imperatives, obliging us to provide water on the other hand, but also observing the roles in each case, and there's no confusion. In the main, just for the portfolio committee to note once more, there's a very, very sharp decline on performance on the side of local government. Very, very, very remarkable. You go to a municipality, you look at how they are managing plants and so on, their own plants, whether it's a pump station, whether it's a waterworks or even reservoirs, you find things that have been lying around or dysfunctional, others 4 years, others 10 years, and so on. Things that would have been useful to deliver water and cutting the grievance and so on. But they just don't do them. It's like you have to drive from Pretoria to discover a pipe that should have been repaired some 4 or 5 years ago. And when you point at it and when you ask the question, why has this not been repaired all the time when people are crying all over? There's no answer. You just don't get an answer, to be honest. So we are looking at that because it affects us both constitutionally and legislatively, but in terms of the rights of people to access water. We'll also touch on the blue and green drop. We're anticipating releasing the report sometime this year on the blue drop, which is the results the first results after that break that we spoke about when we released results of the green drop last year. So the green drop this year will be for the second time, and the blue drop will be the first time after that lull, so that we assure people about the quality of effluents in after treatment in the country, and also about the quality of our water or areas of and picking up areas of concern, and then we address those. And the last thing we'll do is deal with guidelines or framework that deals with accountability rules and so on in the water sector, in the whole of the value chain, where we'll indicate who is responsible for rivers and dams and other sources of water, and how are those managed, and then conveying water and throughout the value chain up to when water becomes available for usage domestically and so on and otherwise. With this, may I request that the department do the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, DG.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and Minister, and good morning, honourable members. I'd like to wish you all a successful and prosperous new year as well. In the letter that we received inviting us to today's meeting, we were asked to engage with the committee on previous responses that we've made to resolutions on water and sanitation sector issues, specifically with regard to three previous reports, the resolutions made by the committee on the 22-23 annual performance plans of the departments and entities, the resolutions on the recommendations of the Oversight Visit to Eastern Cape, and the resolutions on the water and sanitation sector issues. So what we've done with our presentation, Honourable Chairperson, is that we have gone through those issues one by one, and we've taken the content of those previous reports and the questions asked and built them into the presentation, and then we've elaborated a bit on our previous responses to update them and provide some more detail. Next slide, please. So first we go to the responses to the National Assembly resolutions on the report of the Portfolio Committee Oversight Visit to the Eastern Cape. And here that report of the Portfolio Committee raised three questions: to provide concrete measures on the water and sanitation sector, to develop an implementation model which factors in maintenance of schemes whereby unspent or poorly spent government grants can be managed on behalf of the water services authorities. And B, should develop a strategy with Amatola Water to improve the timeframes of work payments of the contract on the Noordhoek project. And C, DWS needs to strengthen its oversight on job creation for community members if and when utilizing the services of the private sector. So these are the three issues raised in the report. Go back, please. In the report of the Portfolio Committee Oversight Visit to the Eastern Cape. So we'll deal with those issues one by one. So firstly, our response to provide concrete measures on the water sanitation sector to develop an implementation model which factors in maintenance of schemes whereby unspent or poorly spent government grants can be managed on behalf of the WSAs. The first point to make here, honourable members, is that the fiscal model of the country is one in which water and sanitation services are self-financing, apart from equitable share allocations to municipalities to enable them to provide free basic services to the indigent, and apart from infrastructure grants to municipalities to enable them to address historical infrastructure backlogs. This means that municipalities are supposed to fund the operation and maintenance of their water and sanitation infrastructure and schemes from revenues that they receive from selling water to residents and businesses. There are various fiscal transfers to municipalities. The first is the equitable share, and a portion of the equitable share is designed to enable it to provide municipalities to provide free basic services to the indigents. The municipalities are supposed to sell their water to customers, local customers, and use the revenue from that to fund operation and maintenance. And only a portion of the equitable share for free basic water is meant to supplement their costs of running their water and sanitation services, which mostly need to be funded from the revenue from the sale of water. With the equitable share, given that local government is a separate sphere of government with its own elected representatives, constitutionally, the national government can't prescribe in detail what municipalities do with regard to the expenditure of their equitable share. So national government can't legally force municipalities to spend a certain portion of their equitable share on maintenance and operation of water and sanitation services, even though the design of the equitable share is meant to cover that. Next slide, please. Then there are 3 conditional grants for water and sanitation infrastructure in the country. 2 of them are managed by us, the Regional Bulk Infrastructure Grant and the Water Services Infrastructure Grant. And the third, the Municipal Infrastructure Grant, is managed by COGTA. The Municipal Infrastructure Grant funds various types of municipal infrastructure. Where it's used to fund water and sanitation infrastructure, their planning and the allocations are done in consultation with the regional offices of DWS. In terms of the Constitution and the Water Services Act, the department does have a legal obligation to monitor municipalities' adherence to national norms and standards, and to support municipalities and to intervene where necessary. And one of the mechanisms that we have to support municipalities is these 2 infrastructure grants, the RBIG grant and the WISIG grant. We work very closely through our regional offices with the municipalities in terms of developing plans for projects to be funded by the grants. And sometimes with some of the grants, we go as far as being involved in a detailed way in terms of actually checking that work is done before payments are made to contractors. But we don't do that with all the grants. There's different types of grants, Schedule 5 and 6, and depending on the type of grant, our level of involvement depends on the type of the grant. We work closely together with COGTA and National Treasury to monitor the spending on the grants. And we engage directly with the water services authorities that are performing poorly. And we, together with COGTA and Treasury, is trying to assist them with implementation of controls as guided by the grant frameworks published by National Treasury. The grants have to be distributed by us and managed by municipalities in terms of grant conditions, which are in the Division of Revenue Act. Those conditions for the MIG currently allow municipalities to use their MIG grant for refurbishment of existing infrastructure in addition to building new infrastructure. So it can be argued that there is an element in the MIG that can be used for refurbishment, and refurbishment of existing infrastructure can be seen as a type of maintenance of existing infrastructure. The RBIG and WISIG grants also allow for allocations for refurbishment, similarly to the MIG. But all of these grants, the RBIG and the WISIG, don't allow for them to be used for day-to-day maintenance and operations. According to the fiscal model of the country, as I indicated earlier, municipalities must either use their equitable share or their revenues from the sale of water to fund their day-to-day maintenance and operations. There's been various engagements over the years between various government departments and municipalities on this issue, and Treasury has been adamant that they're not willing to consider transfers to municipalities to fund day-to-day maintenance and operations, because That would be fiscally unsustainable, and it would go against the principle that water and sanitation is self-financing. We have again recently applied to National Treasury to change the conditions for RBIG and WISIG to allow a portion, just a small portion of it, to be used for maintenance in the light of the very poor maintenance of the water and sanitation infrastructure in some municipalities. But we haven't yet received a response on that from National Treasury. Next slide, please. Part of the question related to managing under expenditure and poor expenditure on DWS grants to municipalities. As I've indicated, we do closely monitor the progress of all the municipality projects which are funded through our grants. We require monthly reports from the municipalities. We study the monthly reports, and we also do site visits. And where we find that there are problems with the projects, we firstly seek solutions to the problems collaboratively with the municipalities, and we offer support to the municipalities to resolve the problems. If that support is not taken and our suggestions are not taken and the situation doesn't improve, then we consider reallocating or withholding the funding on the grant for really poorly performing projects. For some projects, with the agreement of the municipality, we appoint an implementing agent from the start to implement the project on behalf of the municipality, which is usually done when the municipality is lacking the capacity to implement. That has to be done with the agreement of the municipality in terms of the grant conditions. We can't do that unilaterally. Without the agreement of the municipality, we can't manage the implementation of the project on behalf of the municipality. But to manage the risk of under-expenditure on the grants as a whole, we are allowed to move money from underspending projects to fast-moving projects during a particular financial year. And we have increased the extent to which we've done that during the current financial year in order to reduce the risk of under-expenditure during the current financial year. And we intend to do this much more actively, continue doing this much more actively in future. That doesn't mean that funding is permanently taken away from a project where we move money from an underspending project to a fast-moving project. It means it's taken away for that financial year if it looks like the municipality is going to underspend on the project during that financial year, and then the money is given back to the municipality in the following financial year so they can finish the project in that following financial year. Next slide, please. The second question or point in the report was that DWS should develop a strategy with Amatola Water to improve the timeframes of work payment to the contractor in the Nooitgedag project. This issue has been practically resolved because that phase of the Nooitgedag project is complete, practically complete. It was commissioned in at the end of September 2022. It's fully functional. All the payments to the contractor are up to date. There's just some final invoices which need to be submitted related to the testing of the new infrastructure that's been installed at Nooitgedag and commissioning. And we expect for those to be submitted to us by the 13th of February 2023. Next slide. The third point that was raised is that DWS needs to strengthen its oversight on job creation for community members if and when utilizing the services of the private sector. Our response in this regard is that municipalities and other implementing agents do engage in social facilitation prior to the commencement of a project, where employment opportunities are discussed with the community. And so that social facilitation takes place during the implementation of the projects as well, to try and ensure a good working relationship between the community and the contractors. The municipalities and the other implementing agents which are implementing our grant projects are further required to submit labor forms, which have to be signed by the participants and beneficiaries, and certified copies of IDs as a portfolio of evidence related to local employment creation. And we endeavor to ensure that these reports are submitted within proper timeframes. We look at those reports and we monitor and the job creation to local community members on all the projects funded through the grants. and we look at whether the jobs created are meet the contractual commitments of the contractors who are appointed. If our on-site monitoring and reviewing of the reports that are submitted to us indicates that there's a problem related to local employment in the project, we will engage with the municipality or implementing agent to seek a resolution. We are in the process of strengthening our monitoring of that issue through site visits and reviewing the monthly reports. And local ward councils are also involved in social facilitation in this regard in the projects. And we want to do that more in future as well and encourage increased local ward council involvement in social facilitation in the projects. The second document that we were asked to present on is our responses to the National Assembly on resolutions of the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation sector issues. And here 4 issues were raised. Firstly, that we should develop an institutional framework or guidelines that clearly define the roles, responsibilities, and accountability within the entire water and sanitation value chain. Secondly, that we should promote good governance in the water sector institutions, ensuring separation of policy making, shareholding, and regulatory functions. Thirdly, we should ensure that the blue and green drop assessments comply with statutory requirements, which deal with discharging effluent wastewater into streams and rivers. And fourthly, we should provide a report together with respective water boards with associated timeframes on action plans that provide concrete and tangible results on debt collection, governance issues, and water boards amalgamation to establish regional utilities. The first point we'd like to make here is that there is an existing legal framework that does clarify the roles and responsibilities of the different spheres of government with regard to water services in the country. I'm not going to go through this slide in detail, but this slide covers all the key parts of the Constitution and the Water Services Act, which clarify exactly what national government is responsible for with regard to water and sanitation, and what municipalities are responsible for, and what the water boards are responsible for. It is our view as the department that, generally speaking, there isn't really any problems with these constitutional and legal provisions, and that we are clear, and it is clear from this, what are the responsibilities of the 3 spheres of government and entities such as the water boards. One of the things that we are required to do in terms of the National Water Act is develop the National Water Resource Strategy, which basically provides a framework within which all these institutions need to work in terms of water resource management and provision. That framework includes protection, use, development, conservation, management, and control of water resources for the country, and therefore make sure that all of these different spheres, all the 2 spheres of government, national and local, and other institutions such as the water boards are coordinated and work within the same policy framework. There is an existing National Water Resource Strategy, but we're in the process of finalizing the 3rd edition, which is currently out for public consultation. Next slide, please. And to further enhance the roles and functions of the departments and its entities, we are in the process of establishing the remaining catchment management agencies in 6 water management areas corresponding to 6 catchment management agencies, 2 of which are currently operational. I'm going to have some more slides just now on the reconfiguration of the water boards. And we are in the process of working towards establishing the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency. The bill has been gazetted for public comments. There'll be more on that in later slides. And we're in the process of transforming irrigation boards into water use associations. All of these actions are aimed at refining the institutional framework in the country and making sure that it more closely matches the legislative and constitutional requirements. So this slide just explains at a very high level roles and responsibilities with regard to water. The hand-drawn black line that goes from top to bottom in the middle of the slide is the differentiation between national government responsibilities and municipal responsibilities in terms of the Constitution. As we know, the Constitution states that water distribution, water services are a municipal function. So everything to the right of that line is a municipal function in terms of the Constitution. The DWS, in terms of the Constitution, is responsible for water resource development, catchment agencies, water user associations, for bulk infrastructure, such as the large dams and associated bulk infrastructure, such as canals. Water treatment works, bulk water treatment lines, distribution reservoirs, connected pipelines, in terms of the Constitution, are all forms of municipal infrastructure. They're all parts of water distribution and water services. When the Water Services Act enables DWS to set up water boards, it says that those water boards are being set up to assist municipalities with their municipal water services functions. So the water boards actually provide municipal, in terms of the constitutional, municipal water services functions. And that's why, in order to operate, the water boards, in terms of the Water Services Act and in terms of other legislation as well, have to be appointed as water service providers by the municipalities, by the water services authorities, to provide the municipalities with support in terms of delivering their water services functions. So the cycle of the water is that it goes from the catchment to the dams. From the dams, it goes through bulk distribution infrastructure to the water treatment works. Some of the water treatment works fall under the water boards. Some municipalities have their own water treatment works. Some very large industries like Sasol, for example, have their own water treatment works. Some government departments like Public Works have their own water treatment works. After the water treatment works, the water goes through bulk water pipelines to distribution reservoirs. Distribution reservoirs are usually directly controlled by municipalities for municipal infrastructure, and the municipalities distribute the water to human settlements and to industries in their area. Once the water has been utilized, it then enters the wastewater system and goes through sewage pipes to wastewater treatment works, where there's reticulated wastewater treatment. It goes through sewage pump stations and goes through wastewater treatment works. Once it's been treated supposed to be treated to the required effluent quality, it then goes back into the river. So you can see there's a whole cycle of water that from the river it goes into the sea. From the sea it then often evaporates and then it rains again, goes back into the catchment, and the water circulates in the system. But as I indicated, this slide is indicating the roles and responsibilities in terms of the Constitution and the legislation, which we think is fairly clear as to what are the various roles and responsibilities. Next slide, please. The second point that we're asked to talk to is that we should promote good governance in the water sector institutions, thereby ensuring separation of policy-making, shareholding, and regulatory functions. So again, we think the existing legal frameworks do promote good governance in the water sector institutions. The minister is the executive authority and shareholder responsible for appointing members of the water sector institutions such as the Water Research Commission, the TCTA, and the water boards. The boards of the water sector institutions are the accounting authorities in terms of the PFMA and are fully accountable to the shareholder. The minister and the boards do conclude shareholder compacts annually. which serves as the performance contract between the shareholder and the boards. And they also submit corporate plans and budgets annually to the Minister and to National Treasury. Corporate plans contain implementation details to attain the key performance measures and indicators outlined in the shareholder compact and are tabled in Parliament. So, honourable members, you can see from this that there is a system for ensuring the separation of policy-making shareholding functions and implementation functions, and that there are measures in place to govern the operation of the system. The department continuously updates and benchmarks the shareholders' compact models and the quarterly reports of public entities reporting to the Minister to strengthen and monitor the performance of entities and to strengthen accountability to the Minister. The third area that we were asked to report on is to ensure that the blue and green drop assessments comply with statutory requirements which deal with discharging effluent wastewater into streams and rivers. The first point to make here is that the blue and green drop assessments have been designed to fully comply with all the statutory requirements. They are regulatory tools which have been developed within the statutory framework of the Water Services Act and the National Water Act, and they assess the performance of the water supply systems and wastewater systems respectively in terms of that statutory framework. Section 62 of the Water Services Act mandates the department to monitor the performance of water services institutions, while the department is mandated to authorize water use in terms of Section 21 of the National Water Act. Discharge of effluent is Section 21F water use, and all water users discharging into a water resource must apply to the department for an authorization. The water use authorization has set conditions and standards that the water user must comply with. So what the blue and green drop assessments do is that they check in detail for every water system and wastewater system in the country under the municipalities. We check in detail whether or not they're adhering to their license conditions and adhering to all the other statutory requirements. So when we do carry out on that assessment, you will see from the green drop report, it's a very bulky report covering all the wastewater systems in the country in a large amount of detail. We provide those reports to the individual municipalities, but we don't only provide the municipalities with an assessment of the state of their wastewater systems. In the same report, it identifies why the systems are in the state that they're in. And it also identifies what needs to be done to improve the condition of the system. So the blue and green drop assessments are actually, in addition to regulatory mechanisms, they are also support mechanisms to municipalities, because if the municipalities were to use the reports as intended and to study the reasons in the reports for the non-compliance, and take heed of the recommendations, what needs to be done to improve the systems, then the municipalities would be able to address the issues and improve their wastewater treatment systems. And similarly for the blue drop reports, they would be able to improve their water services systems. What we did with the green drop report after we issued it is that we required the worst performing municipalities to submit action plans to address the issues, and we offered support to the municipalities to develop the action plans, and further offered support to the municipalities to address all the shortcomings. Unfortunately, to date, only a small fraction, I think it's about 20 out of 60 or 70 of the municipalities who were required to submit action plans have submitted action plans since we issued that green drop report in March. So we have been writing follow-up correspondence to those municipalities, and if they still fail to provide action plans, we will have to take further, more punitive action against those municipalities for failing to act in terms of our directives to put in place action plans to address the shortcomings found in the green drop report. We will do the same with the final blue drop report once it's released. Next slide, please. The fourth area that we're asked to report on is to provide a report together with the respective water boards with associated timeframes on action plans that provide concrete and tangible results on debt collection, governance issues, and water boards amalgamation to establish regional utilities. To deal with the issue of debt collection first, we believe this is a key priority for the department. The problem of municipalities not paying the water boards and being in debt to the water boards, and the water boards in turn not being able to pay the department's water trading entity, is a threat to the financial sustainability of the whole water sector. And therefore, we've prioritized working with the water boards and municipalities to try and improve the situation. We have developed recently, we had a workshop with the water boards and National Treasury and COGTA and SALGA to develop strategies to improve billing and revenue collection in the water sector. And we agreed that we will do various things to try and address the problem. The first is that we agreed that bulk prepaid meters should be installed incrementally by the water boards. That means that the water boards will require payment before providing water to municipalities, where the municipalities have a poor record of paying. The second is that we have a draft, we want to finalize it soon, of a standard operating procedure for billing and revenue collection for all the water boards and for the department's water trading entity, so that there's a consistent approach by the department and all the water boards in terms of credit control measures and other measures to deal with non-paying municipalities. We are also going to use incentive-based credit control mechanisms. What this refers to, for an example of an incentive-based credit control mechanism, might be, for example, where there's where the water board enters into an agreement with the municipality that if the municipality establishes a good record of paying its current invoices, then incrementally over time, its old debts to the water board can be written off. And we would also then simultaneously write off the old debt from the water board to our water trading entity. And that could provide an strong incentive to the municipalities to meet their current invoices. In the worst situations, we need to become more consistent in terms of taking even further measures, such as attaching municipal bank accounts where necessary, where there's serial non-payment by municipalities to the water boards. We also have agreed with the Treasury that we will collaborate with them to more consistently and increasingly ensure that equitable share allocations are withheld from municipalities which don't pay the water boards. Next slide, please. In terms of governance, this slide summarizes the current situation with regard to governance for all the different water boards in the country. I won't go through the slide in detail, water board by water board. It's really to provide information for the members. I would suggest, Chairperson, if there's any questions on particular aspects of governance for any of the water boards, we could address them afterwards. But you can see we've given an indication in this table for each water board, whether the board is in place, what is happening with it, the number of board vacancies, what's the situation with regard to the appointment of the CEO and the CFO, whether the corporate plan was submitted on time, the audit outcomes, and the audit outcomes. The next two slides provide details on where we are with the reconfiguration of the water boards. The Minister has talked to this a little. Again, in the interest of time, Chairperson, I won't go through these detailed slides, but you can see from the slides that for the reconfiguration taking place, we've given an indication of what exactly is happening with the reconfiguration, what is the progress to date, and what are the timeframes with regard to the reconfiguration. So these two slides comprehensively provide the members with a picture of how the water boards are being reconfigured, and also what is the progress and the timeframes. Just to make two overall points in regard to this. The first is that in the question that was posed, that this is responding to, the question referred to the amalgamation of the water boards into regional water utilities. That is not what this is about. There was a time when there was a policy proposal within the department to create regional water utilities, but this is not implementing that policy proposal. That policy proposal wasn't taken forward. There is currently no process within the department to create, in inverted commas, regional water utilities. These two slides describe the process of reconfiguring the water boards as water boards, not as some kind of new regional water utilities. The second point to make, Chairperson, is that in several instances, a part of the reconfiguration involves making sure that water boards provide services to all the areas in a particular province where their services are required. For example, for Lepeli Northern Water, part of the reconfiguration is saying that Lepeli Northern Water must provide services to all areas in Limpopo where their services are required, and similar for Overberg Water in the Western Cape. But as I indicated earlier, Chairperson, that doesn't mean that that the water boards are going to automatically take over some functions of municipalities. Because as I indicated earlier, for a water board to provide a service to a municipality, the municipality has to appoint it as a water service provider. So the municipality has to agree to the service, to use the services of a water board. But the intention of this is to ensure that where municipalities do need and want the services of a water board, we are able to provide that throughout the country. And that's one of the measures that we've taken through this reconfiguration of the water boards. Next slide, please. The third issue we were asked to respond on is relates to the resolutions on the APP for the 22-23 financial year. So the first thing that we are asked to report on is provide details on whether we're considering public-private partnerships to develop mega infrastructure projects. The second is to clarify the slow progress in finalizing the National Water Act and the Water Services Act and how these delays will affect the long overdue water allocation transformation. The third is that the department should provide a progress report on this national sanitation framework to ensure that the country's bucket system is eliminated in terms of norms and standards. The fourth is that the Portfolio Committee recommended collaboration with government departments such as DTI, COGTA, and the WRC to ensure that uptake of innovative products and technology. And the fifth one was that we should provide a detailed response on the modalities, including a roadmap with timeframes to establish the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency. With regard to the first one, whether we're considering public-private partnerships to develop mega infrastructure projects, we are doing that with the mining houses in Limpopo and the Northern Cape. The first of these is already in the implementation phase, which is the Olifants Management Model, which is a 24 billion rand project involving the construction of a bulk pipeline from the Hoop Dam to Olifantspoort, as well as another bulk pipeline from Flagbush Yellow Dam to Mogalakwena. This is very important for the development of the mining sector in Limpopo and will enable new mines to be opened through providing water to those areas through these bulk pipelines. But in addition to providing the bulk pipelines, the project also includes water distribution infrastructure to 94 villages adjacent to the pipelines, to villages which currently do not have water for domestic use for the people living in those villages. And the partnership involves an agreement between DWS and the Lebalelo Water Users Association, which is largely an association of mining houses which are water users in the area, in terms of which DWS and the Lebalelo Water Users Association will each fund 50% of the project, with the Water Users Association as the implementing agent. The Minister launched the project last year and it's currently in the construction phase, and we are in an advanced stage of negotiations and discussions with Mogalakwena local municipality and Sekhukhune district municipality regarding the distribution infrastructure. We are also negotiating with mining houses in the Northern Cape to implement a similar joint project to refurbish and expand the Valgamagara water scheme, which will be in the region of 10 billion rand, and which will similarly also include distribution of water to communities in addition to bulk provision of bulk water to the mines. And we are currently finalizing an agreement to enable that project to proceed with the mining houses in the area. We are also exploring similar partnerships in the agricultural sector for the Valharts and Oranje irrigation schemes. And further to these partnerships with the mining houses and irrigation agricultural sector for mega projects, we are also working towards helping municipalities to put in place partnerships with the private sector for municipal services, for municipal water services. And in that regard, we've established a water partnership office with the DBSA in Salga, which is located in the DBSA, but which is chaired by a steering committee, led by a steering committee, which I chair, with other DWS officials and DBSA and Salga people, and which is being funded by National Treasury as a specialist unit, provide support to municipalities on entering into public-private partnerships for water services in areas like non-revenue water and water reuse. The second area was that we should clarify the slow progress in finalizing the National Water Act and the Water Services Act and how these delays will affect the long overdue water allocation transformation. We agree, Honourable Chair, that there have been delays and that it has taken a long time for the department to work on the amendments to the National Water Act and Water Services Act. In part, progress has been hampered by frequent changes in political administrative leadership in the department, which has resulted in changes in policy positions and priorities. So, for example, in somewhere around 2019, the former minister requested that the two acts be amalgamated into one act, and the department did draft an amalgamated act at that time. But around 2021, a different minister changed this decision and the department was instructed to go back to separate amendment bills for the two acts. Minister Mkhunu is also of the view that it makes sense legally to have the act separate, and we are working on those separate amendment bills for the two acts. We are closer to going to cabinet with the National Water Act than with the Water Services Act, and I'll explain why in that regard. Minister Mkhunu has changed the department's focus with regard to municipal water services. Since becoming minister, we now have a water services branch, which we didn't have before, and we are now supporting and intervening in municipalities around the country on a scale that the department has never done before, in line with the legislative and constitutional mandates of the department. As a result of that work with municipalities, we are finding out that we are learning that certain things should change in the future if we're going to be more effective in supporting in the municipalities, and certain changes might be required to the Water Services Act. These relationships between the national government and municipalities, particularly with regard to support and intervention, are legally complex. Because of that, we've asked the Water Research Commission to work with us to carry out detailed research on possible amendments to the Water Services Act to enable us to strengthen our role with regard to support and intervention in municipalities. One of the things that they are looking at with us include, for example, the possibility of the Water Services Act requiring that water services providers be licensed by the national department. But if we're going to do something like that, we need to make sure that it's effective and that it has the desired impact. And that is where it becomes very complicated. And we would like to complete this research. We're also looking at, in terms of this research, at examples of other countries, including Zambia and Kenya and Uganda, where they've introduce changes to their water services sectors and move more towards a professional water utility model, more at arm's length from the political leadership of municipalities, while still retaining it as a municipal function. And we are looking at those examples and examples of other countries as well, which have been fairly successful in terms of reforms in their water services sector. So rather than take a piecemeal approach of bringing changes to Parliament, we'd like to complete that research on reform in the water services sector, and then be sure about our amendments to the Water Services Act before bringing that to Parliament. But in terms of the National Water Act, we are close to finalising the amendments and taking them to Cabinet. The State Law Advisor has recently given us a go-ahead to submit the draft amendment bill to Cabinet, to request Cabinet approval for public consultation on the bill. And we will be submitting the amendment bill to the clusters shortly as the first step to taking it to Cabinet. The amendments do include measures to increase the equitable allocation of water and the protection of water resource areas that were not previously afforded protection. Just as a side point, Honourable Chair, we are also currently awaiting judgment from the Constitutional Court on the interpretation of Clause 25 of the National Water Act. There's a case currently before the Constitutional Court in this regard, which will have an impact on the transformation of water use allocations, and that judgment may have an influence on the amendments to that section of the Act. Next slide, please. The third point was that the department should provide a progress report on its national sanitation framework to ensure that the country's bucket system is eliminated in terms of norms and standards. In this regard, we did submit the national sanitation framework to Cabinet for approval late last year. Unfortunately, it hasn't yet been able to get onto the agenda of Cabinet, but we believe that it will be presented. It will be on the agenda of Cabinet meeting in February. The National Sanitation Framework provides a policy framework which will form the basis for revising the minimum norms and standards for sanitation to make them more equitable and to align them with technology developments in the sector. The framework also provides for strengthened monitoring of compliance to these norms and standards and strengthening of governance structures in the sector. It provides a policy basis for a review of service standards and also clarifies that forms of sanitation such as the bucket system are unacceptable and may not be implemented by municipalities, including in informal settlements. Many municipalities are currently still in new informal settlements, providing bucket systems, and that is propping up many municipalities around the country all the time. Our intention is to use the National Sanitation Framework, once it's approved by Cabinet, as the policy basis to issue new norms and standards which make clear that it is completely unacceptable for a municipality to issue bucket systems in new informal settlements or in any informal settlements. The National Sanitation Framework also sets out measures to improve service delivery, such as a range of support measures in various forms. And we will develop an implementation plan for the framework once it's been approved by Cabinet. The fourth issue that we were asked to report on is our response to the Portfolio Committee's recommendation that we collaborate with departments such as DTI, COGTA, and others to ensure that innovative WRC products and technology are taken up. Our response to that is that the WRC does collaborate with various departments and entities in academia and the general public to ensure that there's uptake on its research developments. And that includes the WRC providing scientific support to government to manage, monitor, and protect water resources. And so those innovations are used in that support that's provided by the WRC to government. The WRC does respond to our strategic objectives. The WRC does respond to our strategic objectives and works closely with us and assists us in a variety of ways and uses its research and technologies when it provides support to DWS. It widely disseminates its research reports, technical briefs to enable knowledge sharing in the sector, as well as having knowledge sharing events and public dialogues, workshops and conferences in collaboration with various industrial sectors, as well as those other national departments. In this regard, Honourable Chairperson, I must say, in my experience, the other national departments, such as, in particular, for example, the Department of Science and Technology, have very close working relationships with the Water Research Commission, and that they and the DTIC do rely on the Water Research Commission and do respect and utilize the research developed by the Water Research Commission. There are currently consultations going on between the Water Research Commission and the Chief Procurement Office in National Treasury about the possibility to include the promotion of innovation products as an option in public procurement as part of the preferential procurement, the application of preferential procurement. But those discussions aren't yet finalized. The fifth area that we were asked to report on is that the department should provide a detailed response on the modalities, including a roadmap with timeframes to establish the National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency. In that regard, we previously presented to the committee that the NWRA is required to enable us to raise much more money in future for the mega investments we need to make in national water resource infrastructure. And that to do that, we plan to amalgamate the TCTA, the water trading entity in the department, and the infrastructure branch of the department into one entity, which will also own all the national water resource infrastructure, including the dams and associated infrastructure, and therefore will have a very substantial balance sheet with associated revenue streams, and will be able to raise significantly more finance on the back of that balance sheet and revenue streams, without requiring guarantees from National Treasury. So the progress to date is that we did develop the bill and the business plan. We consulted in detail with National Treasury on the business plan, and the business plan is almost ready for submission to the Minister of Finance. We only want to submit it once to the Minister of Finance, so we haven't submitted yet. We want to see if there's any changes to the bill before we submit the business plan to the Minister of Finance for approval. So we will do that during the course of this year as the bill goes through the various processes. With regard to the bill was submitted to Cabinet, and Cabinet approved that the bill be gazetted for public consultation. We've been very busy over the past couple of months with public consultation on the bill, had wide-ranging consultations with various stakeholder groupings, including NEDLAC and the current lenders to the TCTA. Those two stakeholders groupings in particular asked for more comprehensive consultations. NEDLAC has requested, the business and labour constituencies at NEDLAC have requested that the NEDLAC task team be established to review the bill, which is one of the standard processes of NEDLAC, and we've agreed that that should happen. And in addition, the current lenders to the TCTA have requested that an independent financial and legal review be undertaken of the risks, potential risks to the existing loans of the creation of to the TCTA through the creation of the NWRA, and we've agreed to carry out that independent financial and legal review as well. As a result of that, our timeframes for establishing the NWRA have had to move out a little bit to enable these consultation processes to be done thoroughly and completely. And we need to complete the task team process in NEDLAC and the independent financial and legal review with the lenders of the TCTA before closing the consultation process and going back to Cabinet with a recommendation that the bill be submitted to Parliament. Given in that context, our current timeframes are that the bill would be tabled in Parliament by June this year, that it could be passed by October this year, and that once it's advanced in its processing by Parliament, we would get approval from the Minister of Finance for the business case. And then once the bill has been passed into an act, then the Minister could take the first steps towards establishing the NWRA by January next year. Thank you very much, Chairperson. That covers all the areas that we were asked to report on.
Chairman,
Chairperson,
Yes, yes, yes. I mean a load shedding problem, yeah. But I can hear you. I can hear you.
the presentation is done.
Yes, I was just moving away from the area where I was. I was listening. There we are. I do have one or two questions to ask, but let me allow the members first to ask their questions. Because the last time I was warned not to start. Let me not start now. Can I see hands? I see the hand of Honorable Mushala, Honorable Seki. Yeah, that's far those two hands. Honorable Sitwai. Okay, let's start. Others will come later, I assume. Even myself will come in later. Honorable Mushala.
No, thanks so much, Chairperson of the session. Chair, today, let me just say that it's a very good presentation and good input by the DG of the portfolio. But the concern is, Chairperson, you know, we are sitting here, when I was listening to the minister before the DG can come, we are sitting here listening to problems which should have been sorted, I think, long time ago, because, and within, I think, the very same government that is running this country. Because when you listen, the minister in his input, he spoke about there's a very serious problems with the municipalities. And when you sit down and ask yourself, there's a problem with this municipality. Where is the problem? Which party or which government is running this municipality? Then you ask yourself some question of whether are we going to come to conclusions, or are we going to be progressive or to deliver services to the people at the long run if we are still stuck with this thing of just complaining about each other. The municipalities, the people that are not doing this work in the municipality, majority of them are being deployed by the very same government, which with what we call the CADA deployment. So we are stuck now, and we can all attest to that. It is a problem with the municipality, but the problem is what? Is the government that is running this country. We went to Guyana. We just found these people, the officials, clumsy as they are, you can see they just come and lie to us in presentation of what is happening there, when we actually see exactly what is happening. Chair, my first question is, To what extent is the department, together with National Treasury and COGTA, engaging on challenges inherent within the three spheres of government? Basically, what seems apparent is that the national department refuses to engage rigorously with respective stakeholders on strengthening the financial component of water service provision for citizens across the water value chain, which is a basic human right. We understand the constitutional delineations, but there appears to be no political will to unpack why this model is not working. Chairperson, second question, the Department of Water and Sanitation talks of the district development model, but the responses given today makes a mockery of no attempt to work coherently to ensure a seamless approach to ensuring that citizens attain a reasonable right to water. But it seems as if neither the national department nor local government want to locate rights to water as a human right. What are the most evident challenges in implementing the stationary requirements at both national and provincial level of government? Chairperson, the responses merely list the legislative and regulatory aspect to each of the recommendations, but very little and critical thought process on why the institution that fix the taps are non-functional and do not have the capability to undertake basic aspect. Chairperson, we must begin to differentiate between lack of capacity and capabilities at all spheres of government. Chair, what are the current challenges encountered in the reconfiguration of water boards? And what criteria was used by the Department of Water and Sanitation in reconfiguring water boards? Chairperson, will the National Water Infrastructure Agency bill be tabled in Parliament this year? And if so, how will the election process impact the process? If a bill lapses in Parliament, then it would have to be reintroduced in the 7th Parliament. Has the department factored this in tabling the bill this 6th Parliament? Chairperson, lastly, yeah, the last one, Chairperson, you know, sometimes, Tina, we speak about things that we see on the ground more than anything. When I started, I said it was a good input by the DG, but these things, we don't see them on the ground. Chairperson, we had in the presentation the construction of pipeline from the Hope Dam to Mkhalakwena, which is a very good project, Chairperson. But the problem is, it's been some years, actually decades. The people of Sekhukhune, they don't have water. The Hope Dam is nearer them. I'm coming from there. I don't even think Minister Mkhunu can stay in that area. We're coming from there. We push igrivani every day, Minister. Siyahamba siyofuna amanzi. Akuna manzi, abantu bayahlupheka lapho. It's a good project. The Hope Dam is now going to provide or do a pipeline to Mkhalakwena. But what about these people of Sekhukhune nearer to the Hope Dam, whom every day we are hearing that there's a pipeline for decades now? The people are still suffering. There's no water in Sekhukhune. There's no water at Ramasha. Nearer the Hope Dam, Kamalekani, there's no water. Go to Tshwane, there's no water, Chairperson. Jane First, there's no water at all. The people are suffering. So when is this thing now going to happen so that we can see them with the eyes? Because the people, we believe in seeing this thing happening, not written down like they are written, There's a pipeline, what, at the end of the day, we don't see anything coming from those dam. Chairperson, here's the issue of reconfiguration of water boards. I saw it's happening also in KZN, where Mugeni and now we are.
Reconfiguration.
It's what I'm saying, Tseki, listen. Chairperson, we just read recently. It's a good move, yes, but we just read recently that in KZN, the water board, now we are experiencing a serious problem. There's an amount of 2 billion that went to irregular expenditure with regards to the issue of these water boards of KZN. We read it on media. We don't want to hear it on media. I think this is the correct platform where we can hear what really transpired with this issue of irregular expenditure of 2 billion. It is really not very good. We want to hear from the horse mouth. I think the department, the officials are here. Please share with us so that we can understand without hearing it from the grapevines. Thank you so much.
Just in case of all of us not repeating the same, I do not want to stop Inshallah, because the approach should be different a bit. Yes, and I'm sure those concerns must come and they must never be watered down. The purpose of this meeting today, it was called because the department has responded to the speaker on the work done, and therefore the speaker was saying to me, what
Chairperson,
committee saying on the responses, and having seen it ourselves, I then asked that the motive behind the presentation. So this reflects being done as far. Now, after the speaker having received the report, to
Chairperson.
We are losing you, Chairperson. We did not hear what you are saying.
Is disconnected now.
should we continue and probably connect the chair?
Yes, Mr. Tseki.
Okay, so the chair will join us. Thank you with the presentation, the department. I felt like I'm working in the department in the manner in which the presentation is captured. Listening to the responses or the recommendations, I still don't feel that the department has got in the tips of their fingers the nature of challenges faced by the municipality on water and sanitation. If maybe the department can assist me there. You are mentioning these challenges, but I'm not sure if you as the department are able to figure them out concretely on what they are and for a possible solution. One, there's a picture on the chart that explained water from the rain, catchments, dams, distribution centers, and all that, the sea evaporation and the like. You have got 3, 4, and 5 on that picture. You don't have 1 and 2. So it's difficult to read that 3, 4, and 5 in the absence of 1 and 2. Can you just look at it? The separations of the two Act, National Water Act and National and Water Service Act. You are saying in the presentation, or the formulation of those acts are going to delay the allocation transformation. That's so important for us to note. But now, if transformation or water allocation transformation is being delayed, what are the interventions that will speed up those acts? Or in the absence of the acts, there's nothing that we can do to continue with the program of transformation in relation to water allocation, because that's very important. The last one, I'm not sure whether the chair is back. I wanted to educate Member Mashala on CADA deployment, but also ask him what do they call it on their side, because I know they have got a form of calling it, even if they cannot call the CADA deployment. So let me leave it there because the chair is not, I was going to ask the chair to allow me. Thank you very much.
I've
You are
recovered.
very out of order. Just stop yourself because you're out of order. You know,
I've
you can
recovered
feel
my
even you can
assessment.
even feel from the heart that you are out of order. Just sit down and focus.
Mutala, Eriki share a meeting. I'm sorry,
You were not here, Chair, so I wanted to reprimand this take to sit down and
don't
focus.
reprimand it during my meeting. Are you finished, Zeki?
Yes, I'm done, Chair.
Mom's try.
Thank you, Chair. My apology about my voice. I'm a little bit feverish. Good morning to all and a happy new year to all colleagues and the minister, deputy minister and the department. I'm worried about what happened when you wanted to reinforce the purpose of this meeting, Chair. I think one has a little bit of understanding, but the temptation, Chair, that one has are the areas that I believe that we should lift up for now and for the future, so that we don't find ourselves in the quagmire that we are in now. Allow me just to speak about Can I continue, Chair? Charity. Am I audible, members?
Very clear.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to raise few issues, having understood the chairperson and the clarity that he wanted to make. We are saying as a department in our response that DWS should strengthen its oversight on the job creation by private sector. I want to present a different view. I want to present a differing view, Chair. The meeting, please, should correct me. How do you have your oversight on something that you have not been told if the private sector is prepared to do or not? And how is it going to do it? My view is that, Chair, the private sector, when it's appointed Nancy Sishwai Construction Company, before it starts work, it should present to the department its plan for jobs to be created. Then the DWS will be able to oversee what has been told as created by the private sector. You see, this issue of projects gets stopped and the department comes in to intervene on something that the department does not know if it's a culture of a private sector to do, is a problem. Nancy Sishwai's company must present upfront how, where, in which areas in the project. That's my view, Chair. That's my proposal. That clause to me is subjecting the department to something that is not known. The second one, Chair, is the issue of the department, the national department, is giving grants, many grants for service delivery to municipalities. And in those grants, there's non-compliance. For an example, the MIG. The MIG is an infrastructure grant. Perhaps the department will empower me. Is there a portion of MIG that should go to salaries? And then what happens? My worry is that the department is used as a messiah outside the constitutional directives of municipalities. Municipalities has got their constitutional mandate to make things happen. Now, the department is always intervening. I'm worried about the question that the ministers raised, input that the questioner raised, say, when you ask why did this happen, why you didn't do it, there's no answer. What does that mean? When you are employed, you are being paid, and you presented your skills, and you don't answer. So there is no accountability, and the department must come. It may happen that we lack the other area of what are the municipalities saying of their non-performance. We lack that report, their non-performance. But what we are hearing here, perhaps also going to empower even the speaker to know what caliber of municipalities do we have. The second one, Chair, is the role of WISIG and ARBIC, which is refurbishment. And now the department is proposing that should also enter an area of maintenance. Because the issue is there are many grants to municipalities, but what is not happening is the implementation to make things happen. Now, the national department needs to come in to intervene on those particular issues. Now, this grant is very critical for bulk infrastructure. and you are not even near to address those issues, which I believe the minister is doing very well. But now we are subjecting the department to other things. Maybe we need a report why municipalities are not doing their work, why they are not performing in the presence of quota. So I'm worried about this shift of WISIG and ARBIC role for a maintenance where there are many grants that are given to municipalities. The other issue, Chair, is the issue of money that is not spent to a municipality. The issue of shifting money, this money belongs to Nelson Mandela. It belongs to Nelson Mandela, a project in the Nelson Mandela. How I wish that that money is not taken away from Nelson Mandela or is not taken away from the Eastern Cape, because that money belongs to this community. Should not taken to any other province. But first, we must identify project of Nelson Mandela that needs to be considered. There's an issue that I am not getting it from the private sector. The issue of the set-aside policy of government. The private sector should also in its plan to present about the job creation, present how is it going to consider the program of transformation of government, the program of redress on the projects that is being given to that particular private sector. Chair, the last one. The department is seems to be creating a lot of structures for intervention, for its performance, to ensure its performance. And to me, this seems to be, if municipalities could be able to identify why this is sort of saying, municipalities, you are not performing. I see there are water sector forums, institute that are to be established outside the board and all other structures. How is the department going to monitor all of this in an area which is a municipality where there's no performance? I do want to request a report, Chair, why municipalities are not performing and consequences thereof. Consequences start from the mayor. From the mayor to all those that are operationalists in the municipalities. Thank you very much for the presentation. Apologize, Chair, if we're doing something wrong in terms of this item. We are still fresh from holiday. Thank you very much. Ukhona usihlalo.
Chairperson, he's on the platform.
Can I go ahead and ask my question?
Chair, can I make a proposal that?
Thank you, Honorable SFI.
Okay.
Chair, we can't hear you.
To make a proposal, Chair, that we identify someone to chair, but they will co-chair with the chair when he's in. When the chair is able to be in, and then that person co-chairs with the chair, if the meeting allows. Otherwise, this is frustrating to the chair himself and us.
I see Robert has left. Can I go ahead and ask my questions, please?
Yes, Mr. Basson.
Thank you very much. From my side also, thank you for the presentation to the department. I've just got two issues that I would like to raise with the DG. One is the implementing agent. I totally agree that in instances where municipalities don't have the capacity, that we must insist that implementing agents need to be appointed. But then, Chairperson, I would like also to use an example where implementing agent has been appointed in the Maribeng water purification plant. Magalis have been implemented. This project is now dragging on since 2016. It should have been completed, a portion of it in 2016. It's not been done because it's a kickstart by every time, and then the department is not paying, and then Magalis can't fund it further. That kind of appointing and implementing agent and the department is not playing their financial role in financing this project. It delays these projects, and at the end of the day, we are paying much more for these kind of projects. So if we implement, we appoint the implementing agent, we must make 100% sure that the funding is available and all problems that could occur could be thrashed out before the project starts when it comes to financing of this project. Secondly, Chairperson, and I think maybe the question I'm asking, I've got the answer, but I just want to get an idea. When the costing is being done by the implementing agent, I understand that they need also to make some money for their efforts. Are they capped? I believe I heard somewhere 10% on top of it, of the project, but can we get clarification on this part with the department? And what is the cap? What the department would allow an implementing agent to add on to this project to make this project viable on both sides? Then the last question is, I totally agree that we need to move to prepaid water meters to municipalities that are culprits not paying for their water. I just would like to know from the DG whether that will also include raw water, whether we can also look at prepaid on raw water, because there's a lot of municipalities and in my own constituency, Maribeng is one of those culprits that's not paying for their raw water. And the last that I got information, they owe the department somewhere in the region of 15 million rand for raw water. So if that could be clarified. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
The chairperson is still not on the platform. I suggest that the members nominate a co-chairperson until Mr. Chair Mashiko is back.
Member Sifrai, can you assist please?
Check it still on.
Yes, Member Sifrai, I was proposing Member Sifrai.
Let's drive this bus.
But where's Member Sifrai? She's still there, Comrade. No Sipo.
It looks like she disconnected also. Then it's you.
Can I volunteer if it's allowed?
Members, do you agree?
Member
Agree.
Can you Okay, who was next? Who was next, Nosipo, on the program, on the list?
It's the department's responses.
Okay, department, let's allow you to talk to us. Unfortunately, the chair is not going to hear you, but I think I know Nosipo has got own recordings. Okay, DG Minister.
Thank you very much. Let me allow DG, the presenter, to take the first opportunity. We will add what the gaps or on whatever I will say. Thank you very much, DG.
Thank you, Minister and honourable members. I'm going to answer a few of the questions. I'm going to ask my colleagues to also come in and respond to some of them. The first question by Honourable Mohlala as to what extent do we engage with COGTA and National Treasury re-strengthening the financial components of the water sector. We do engage with them continuously, and as I indicated in the presentation in December, we had a workshop with them and National Treasury specifically on strengthening the financial situation in the sector and strengthening billing and revenue collection. We are going to be implementing the action plan from that in collaboration with National Treasury, which includes standardizing credit control measures across all the water boards. With regard to the question about what challenges have been encountered in the reconfiguration in the water boards and what criteria are used in the reconfiguration, I'd like to ask our Chief Director for Institutional Oversight to come in and answer that. Toko.
Thank you, DG, Honorable Chair and members. I will respond to Honorable Mohlala around the challenges of reconfiguration. The first key challenge for us is the misinterpretation of the Gazette notice. It appears that the municipalities do not understand the intention of the reconfiguration of water boards. We have seen some of the municipalities that have responded negatively to our call and our intentions to reconfigure, mainly the extension of Friendwater to Mpumalanga and also the extension of Amadola Water in Eastern Cape and in Western Cape. With regard to that, we are intending to have a corrective measure whereby we will provide a clarification, and that the intention to reconfigure water boards is not to take over the municipal functions, but it's mainly to support the municipalities in terms of the bulk supply where there is no access. And we have had some due delays in terms of the due diligence exercise because it has taken much longer to appoint independent consultants to do the due diligence reports. In terms of the criteria, the key criteria was to look where there is currently no access in terms of bulk water provision, and in terms of coverage, and those water boards were prioritized, where also there are financial sustainability issues, those struggling water boards like sediment water, which had liquidity challenges, where also there were issues around the ability to raise capital because water boards needs to be self-financing. So in summary, Honorable Mohlala, those are the issues that we considered when we prioritized water boards.
Thank you, Toko. Can you also talk to the issue of the irregular expenditure? I think it's related to Umgeni.
Yes, thank you. It was also raised by Honorable Mohlala, the issue of the 2 billion rand irregular expenditure. It is honorable well documented in the annual report, and the transgressions are related to the deviations on approval on supply chain issues around competitive bidding. There was 108 million rand, which was considered to be non-compliant. And there was also around 141 million, which is related to contract management, which is mainly the issues of the approval of variation orders. There was also an issue where the variation orders in excess of 20% were approved by the entity. But when they submitted their annual report on a quarterly basis, the minister has requested them to provide an intervention plan and a corrective measure in terms of what they are doing with the officials that were involved in the breach of the supply chain procedures. Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Toko. Honorable Mohlala also asked a question as to whether the bill, that's the NWIA bill, will be tabled in Parliament this year. The answer is yes, that is our intention, to complete the public consultation process by approximately March with NEDLAC and the lenders to the TCTA, and then go to Cabinet for approval that it be presented to Parliament. There was also a question by Honorable Mohlala on the issue of water supply in Sekhukhune. And I'd like to ask our DDG for Water Services, Rizimati Mate, to answer that one. Rizimati.
Thank you, DG. Just the direct response to that is that we are aware of the challenges around Sekhukhune, but we want to at least make a submission that there are several projects that the department is actually doing in Sekhukhune. Just to give a summary, we have, as is well recorded, we have at least the Loscope project, which has been long outstanding, part of which is to try and provide more sustainable water provision to Sekhukhune as one of the beneficiaries. There are also a couple of projects that are being done under WISIC, because on an annual basis, the department do allocate funding through our WISIC, which goes to various projects, for instance, upgrading of current water services, refurbishment and the likes. But I also want to record few projects, DG and the chair, that are being done in the Sekhukhune area. We have the project that covers Nebo, just to mention. There's Nebo bulk water system, which is currently funded by RVIC as the DWS, which is under construction. There's also the Moods bulk water system. This is apart from the Loscope project that we are doing. There's also a Moyhook bulk water system. So all these three are projects that have been funded, are being funded by RBIC through DWS to try and provide water security in the Sekhukhune area. And of course, I've mentioned DG, the project that we're doing, which is the Loscope project. Over and above that, there are about 5 WISIC projects that are being implemented in the district municipality that are all aimed at securing water services in the area. In a nutshell, that is currently a few of the interventions in the medium and long term. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rizimati. Moving on to Honorable Tseki's questions. The first one was what is the nature of the challenges faced by municipalities and the causes of them, and also on the diagram that we put here. Yes, that diagram is a copy of a diagram produced by not by ourselves, that we're using to try and explain the roles and responsibilities. So number one in that diagram is the national department, and number two is the water boards, and then number three is the water services authorities. But with regard to our understanding of the causes of the challenges in the municipalities, I think generally the department's assessment is that the underlying core problem is weak governance and management in municipalities, which leads to a number of problems. There's also a big problem with corruption in municipalities, particularly related to supply chain, and that also results in has implications for poor water and sanitation service delivery. The weak management results in strong weaknesses in areas such as billing and revenue collection, in the supply chain management in the municipality and the management of projects. But it also means that in many municipalities, people with inappropriate skills have been appointed, for example, as heads of wastewater treatment works or water treatment works. The municipalities don't have the right skill set for the type of work that they require, and they don't prioritize the technical skills that are required to manage water and sanitation functions like process controllers and engineers. In some instances, in some municipalities, even though they don't have the right skills to do the work, on the other hand, at the same time, they're overstaffed, so they don't have sufficient money to do the work that is required. And in many cases, the councils are not prioritizing the expenditure of their budgets in the right areas, such as on the maintenance of water and sanitation infrastructure. Alani, there was also a question by Honourable Tseki. Honourable Tseki indicated that while there's been delays with the amendments to the National Water Act, are we at the same time doing anything within the current legislation to reform water use allocation? And the answer to that is yes, we are doing a lot to try and reform water use allocation in the meantime, but Polani who's our DDG for regulation, will elaborate. Polani.
Thank you, DG. Good morning, honorable members. As the DG has indicated, we have a water allocation reform program which we are implementing as the department. It's got a number of areas which we are looking at. Maybe one of them is where in catchments where we are in control and we can be able to allocate water from our own dams or systems. We have set aside water for which we only reserve for the HDIs. And we also have a program that we are running in terms of our validation and verification of water use. You will know, remember, that most of water that has been registered is still in the hands of the previously advantaged individuals. And then we need to then have a program that we are using in terms of Section 35, where we are verifying that water use. So far, we have verified about 50% of the properties. The aim is that once we got a picture of which water is in use and is also lawfully being used, then we can move on to the program where we issue a compulsory licensing program, where we will be engaging all water users per catchment to apply using Section 43 of the Water Act. And then once we have been able to allocate that water, we develop a water allocation plan per catchment. And then in that plan, we reserve water for HDIs. So there are programs that we are using in terms of the Water Act, while we are trying as well to also amend the respective regulation.
Thank you very much, Polani. Then there were several questions raised by Honourable Sikwai, which I'd like to again ask DDG Marty to answer. And the questions related to how we have control or how we're able to monitor something such as private sector job creation when we don't have control over it. What are the mechanisms that we use? The second was related to RBIG and WSIG and the the control measures and the monitoring that we do with regards to RBEG and WISIC grants. And the third was Honourable Sekwai seemed to be saying that we take money away from municipalities when we move money from underspending projects to higher spending projects. As I explained in the presentation, Honourable Sekwai, we don't take the money away from municipalities permanently. We reallocate the money during the current financial year because the municipalities aren't able to spend it during the current financial year, and then we give it back to them in the following financial year. So the money isn't taken away permanently from projects or from provinces. Zimati, would you like to come in on the other issues, please?
Thanks, DG. When it comes to us controlling the issue of local employment, specifically where we're implementing a project, allow us to just clarify how the process is done, Chair, because when municipalities submit their WISIC business plans as well as their RBIC business plans, part of the requirement in the technical report, and this is basically within the DORA framework, they are expected to indicate to us what is the level of job creation. And these conditions go exactly into their internal tender documentations, which then they must source employment from the local people, part of which the monitoring also goes to local ward councillors, so that this whole value chain is controlled with all the relevant stakeholders. Now, what the department does on a monthly basis, we get progress reports, we do site inspections, we conduct as well as progress report on site, part of which the appointed contractor as well as the dedicated private service provider or professional service providers as in consultant, they then report in the presence of the municipality, who is basically the direct beneficiary, the number of jobs that are created, progress report, and so forth. If there are issues in terms of non-compliance locally, this information gets escalated directly to the relevant stakeholders, and it goes first to local councillors and the like. So the department is so much reliant, Chair, on the internal processes that the municipalities put in place and the conditions they put in their tender documentations when they advertise for such jobs. That is how the department basically gets involved in terms of monitoring, because that delegation of power moves between the two departments, but it rests much with the municipality or their internal project management unit. On issues of RBIC and WISIC, how we control, as I've indicated in my answer now, DG, we have on a monthly basis, of course, progress meetings. We also monitor expenditure. These are conditions that are already in our framework that we need to monitor how municipalities are basically spending the money if they're in compliance. And if they are found to be non-compliant, there are also conditions that the department cannot overlook. They need to comply with, part of which is to institute intervention method. And hence, there are a lot of intervention methods that we put as a department to ensure that such monitoring systems are not found wanting. Which one was the other one, DG?
I think that's fine, Mr. Marty. Thanks very much. There was also a question by Honourable Sekwai asking whether we're not creating too many structures. Honourable Sekwai, we're actually reducing the number of structures with the measures that we're taking. The reconfiguration of the water boards is reducing the number of water boards. With the decisions taken by the minister related to catchment management agencies, we've reduced the originally envisaged number from 9 to 6. And also with the creation of the NWRIA, we are reducing the number of entities by amalgamating the TCTA with the water trading entity of the department. All of these structures are required in terms of the legislation. For example, the catchment management agencies are required It's a requirement in terms of legislation that be establishment that to get also water user associations, they're also required in terms of the legislation. The structure that we're focusing on, which is not yet required in terms of legislation, is the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency. And I've spoken about the process with the bill in that regard, but that's not really creating a new structure. It's actually rationalizing existing structures by merging the TCTA and the water trading entity of the department. Turning to the questions asked by Honorable Basson, the first one I'd like to just briefly answer, and then I'd like to ask Rizimati as well to come in with some detail. With regard to the suggestion for prepaid meters on raw water, it's a bit technically difficult because of the abstraction methods that are used for raw water often. But also our assessment is that the key risk that we need to focus on with regard to the financial sustainability of the sector is the risk of municipal billing and revenue collection and non-payment by municipalities for water boards. And that's why we focused on that in particular in the presentation. With regard to implementing agents, Honorable Basson is right. We have had problems in the past with the performance of some of our implementing agents. The historical performance of Lepeli Northern Water with regard to the Giyani Water Project and the problems that have occurred there are well known. What we are doing now to try and prevent anything like that happening in the future is that we are being more careful with regard to the appointment of implementing agents, that we don't over-allocate projects to them where they don't have the capacity to manage them. And also that we are monitoring work of implementing agents more closely. And where we find that implementing agents are struggling, we are also supporting the implementing agents. So, for example, under the leadership of the Minister, the department has been providing quite a lot of support to Lepeli Northern Water in recent months to ensure that the Giyani pipeline project is completed. With regard to the Madibeng water treatment works and Makali's water, Rizimati, I'd like you to just talk to that in a bit more detail. And with regard to the question about the capping of the fees for implementing agents as well. Rizimati.
Thanks, DG.
A minute, DG. If with the pace and how you respond, DG, we will not finish because you mandate somebody to speak more than twice. When in actual fact, as you give him the right to speak, why don't he speak on everything that you want to respond to, rather than you speak after speaking, you instruct, you speak after speaking, instruct, then the meeting will not end in that sense. And I take point that you are giving thorough answers, it's okay, but the manner in which you are doing it, it is not necessarily conducive for the meeting. And I'm not stopping Martha to speak, but I'm saying let's change the approach.
And noted, Chairperson, this is the last item now.
Let Martha speak, it's fine.
Rizimati's response is the last response.
Thanks, DG. On the capping of the IA fees, it ranges between 5 and 10%, but it depends on what scope of work is covered in that agreement. For instance, if the implementing agent is only doing program management without doing like the engineering designs, putting together tender documentation, and only just coordinate various contractors and different private service providers, the fee will be much more lesser. However, if they are involved as far as doing the scoping report, putting together tender documentation, providing construction monitoring, and also acceleration of training and development for the municipality, then the fee changes. But all these fees are always aligned to the Engineering Council of South Africa fees, especially on the professional side. On the Madibeng project, which the DG requested me to respond on, yes, the honorable member is correct. Makali's water is the implementing agent. That project is basically nearing completion in the bread treatment works. The committed completion date is towards end of March. It is basically phase one of which started way back. And then there's also phase two that has been completed. The civil works sitting now at 90%, with some electrical works about 12% or so, but the committed completion works for the upgrade of the treatment works from 60 to 80 megaliters is basically set for end of March. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. That brings us to the end of our responses to the Department.
It's like Chair is having a problem again as I was acting.
I'm here.
Please guide us. What is the next item?
Seki, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh,
Seki.
okay.
Just before we move, thank you for having taken over whilst I'm in trouble. And I think I will consistently be in trouble. I don't know where you are in Ekurhuleni. There is a just crisis on terms of rotating. But if it does happen, please don't be afraid to take over. I will not feel ahead. But let me just, because I know that I did not get the chance to raise my questions before. But as I was saying earlier on, that the purpose of the meeting really was for us to understand the thrust of how did the department respond to the speaker, because the speaker could have wanted to know what is our take, and we were not necessarily in tandem with what the department have given. It's unfortunate that the approach took a different turn, but it does not matter. We still did the work. We engaged a bit on why the report was given like that. So we really do need to members having had the responses by the minister in response to our visit in the Eastern Cape and all other places that we're speaking about, to read the document and say then that what is it that we believe that we are not happy about in the process, even if it is the response to the speaker, and what is the proposal we're making to the department to better in moving forward. Having said that, just Honorable Mushala, because we are in a meeting and I have realized that there are other people outside ourselves in this meeting. If it is not corrected, it might be seen to be correct. It is not necessarily correct that all municipalities in South Africa are run by the ANC. Not correct. There are municipalities that are run by the EFFs, and municipalities that are run by the GAs, and municipalities that are run by the coalition of all other parties. It is municipalities that are not. No, when you speak, I never interjected, Mushala. Mushala, don't do that, because if you disagree, I will allow you to speak. But you spoke, I kept quiet. I'm speaking, you're interjecting.
There's no municipality in South Africa that is run by the AFP.
No, a municipality is either you are a ward councillor, you are a municipality, and so forth and so on. You have just removed your mayor, deputy mayor in all cases at municipalities where you are running as a deputy mayor. So you cannot be opportunistic when things suit you. You want to take a credit when there's not. You do not want to take problems. So to me is that yes, municipalities have got problems, and then we must help. And in my input, I could have said to the DG that look, all these regulations that Honorable Mshala correctly said that you are giving responses to me, those responses must be underpinned by the fact that the water is the buck stops with the minister in terms of water reticulation. I mean, in terms of water supply. When South Africans do not have water, the Department of Water must answer. Yes, you are going to delegate responsibilities to sometimes boards, sometimes the municipalities to recirculate and so forth and so on. But the fundamental person to answer if there is no water in the country, it's ourselves, the Department of Water and Sanitation National. So expected from me, DG, was to say to us, with all these regulations that are there, what is it that we want to do? Because really, you know now that municipalities are not going to meet their commitment in terms of payment because the revenue base is not there. What are we going to do? How are we going to intervene on municipalities that will fail to pay the board? For instance, if you say for the board to give water to Ekurhuleni, for instance, they must pay first. If they do not pay, you will not give them water. You are now contesting the thing that Mushala said. Water is a right. And how do you say buy a right in order for you to access it? Yes, water is no longer free, but we must get a way of a buffer that does not take away that right from a person, but also that does not give away the right of the board to collect their money. We must find a way. We cannot just put regulations in front of in faces of people as if it is business as usual. It is not business as usual. We need to behave differently. People need water. In the olden days, Musala, in Gogo Jane Fest, you used to go and fetch water. That thing does no longer help anymore. People are no longer drinking that water because that water is no longer there. So it is a right that people must have, and in having it, there must be also a right for municipalities to collect. Let's find a balance, DG. That's why I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, we need to find a way of circumventing that view. And the DG must give us hope that there is a way in which we are going to circumvent that process where people, only for them to drink water, they must go and buy water. When they are not employed, they've got no money. And we are just putting regulations in front of them. I'm not provoking a discussion again because I could have said that, then the DG would have, I'm sure the minister in his parting ways, he might want to talk to these issues. The point I'm making, the department can't throw its hands on the air and say, if municipalities are not giving water to people, what can we do? It's not supposed to be like that. The minister must be in a position to say, I am now stepping in, and to me, we need to find an unconventional way of dealing with them. For instance, we have got unspent budget. We're given figures that we have in the financial year ending, we have unspent plus minus 40 billion rand. And how do we want to place this from an unconventional way of thinking? So to me, the DG, the minister, you have got the opportunity to can deal with these issues, because we cannot consistently throw our hands on the air and say municipalities are failing. Therefore, it can't. We can't. We have a responsibility to intervene, not necessarily to interfere, but to intervene. We were to move to another point, Minister. I don't know whether you want to say something before we move to the second point.
Yeah, just to make a few statements. The first one is in relation to water provision or water services.
Chair.
The minister is speaking, Mutala. The minister is speaking.
Yes, my please.
Oh, the minister is the minister is speaking.
No. I'm not interfering.
I did not give you right to speak, Mutal.
I was asking. I've got follow up. I've got a follow-up question. Am I going to do them after the minister? I come first.
before the minister can
Okay,
speak.
allow them. Okay,
It's just a question I'm asking. I've got follow-up question. So my
Let
question
the
is,
minister
must I
speak,
wait for the
Mkala,
minister to speak
you'll
or
answer
must
your
I
follow.
do them after the minister
Mkala,
spoke?
no, I did not give you the right to speak. No, don't answer that question.
Don't make a crisis here. There's no crisis. I'm
Don't
just
do-
asking. I've got follow-up
Don't
question.
ask that.
Am I going to do it after the minister or now?
You
Simple like that.
will make that follow up. Let the minister speak.
Good
Okay.
respond. This is how we must
No,
learn.
thank you very
Quality.
much. There's a statement. There's a statement.
Let the minister speak. You will ask a follow-up question. Minister.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mashiro. This is what I wanted.
Minister,
I just
can
wanted
you
to
go on?
respond. That's all. Thank you
Where
so
are
much.
There was a statement that was made by one of the honorable members. There's no water in Sekhukhune and counting villages there. But also adding that there have been plans and they have never been implemented. Well, I don't, Rasimati did respond, but I want to say that the current plan was, which is a partnership between us as a Water and Sanitation Department and Libalelo, which is an association of water users, including mines. We launched this partnership on the 27th of October last year. That is 2022. When we launched it, we also on the same day launched a one or the first project of the partnership in the form of a pump station whose foundation, when we launched, was being started. All equipment was there, and for sure there is progress in that regard. It was the first project to demystify launching of projects without visible progress. And honorable members can go there and see for themselves how far we are with that first project of the partnership. As we say, it's a 24 billion project. It will cover between 5 and 6 years. Now, the villages that the honorable member is talking about are part of the 38 villages that are going to benefit, all of them in Sekhukhune. But that is the eastern wing of the project around Beggersford and related places. But there's a left wing of the project, which is basically Flag Boshelo to Mkhalakwena project. I mean, the same project, but its left wing, which will cover 96 villages and mines there, but all of them in this period of building between 5 and 6 years. So this is a reality. This is a concrete, and we can see progress as we move on in the years. But then there are various schemes which Rasimati referred to. And the second thing that the second statement that I want to make, in fact, I'm not confining myself to Sekhukhune. There are other similar projects all over. We've just completed Brandfley, which is a very important project for farmers in Poland in the Western Cape. But I don't want to go on and waste your time throughout the country. There are projects that are ongoing that we can touch concretely. The second one is reconfiguration. Togo did respond, but just to say that much as there are attendant challenges, but we're going on smoothly with this process. And by end of March, we should see completion of much of, or the greater part of reconfiguration. they will then remain with the processes like human resource, some financial issues, and so on. The third one is around, I think, Honorable Member Tseka, who says the department doesn't understand challenges of water in municipalities. I think that's it could be an overstatement, or it could be from where the Honorable Member stands. We will accept that from your point of view, but from our point of view, we believe we understand clearly the challenges, not just of municipalities, but of each municipality. We may not be doing or resolving water-related issues in all of them at the same time, but we understand, generally we understand the challenges of municipalities on water, and we are intervening. As to why municipalities are in this state, it's not a question that we will answer. It should be referred to local government department. But what we can say is that we understand the challenges, and as and when we see problems, we make an effort to resolve them, as precisely because of what the chair was saying, that we can't stand by and just look on when people don't have water. As I speak, when we finish this meeting, we are engaging Mangaung. I think this is for the third time. And we're not just generalizing on those who are dealing with specific projects, specific problems aimed at resolving current challenges in Mangaung. And we're confident that if we are going to reach agreements between us, the board, and Mangaung, and then we will then resolve the problems of the specific city. At the same time, we're engaged in a Tewin by an assessment we made, and we're engaging them going forward. We are all over intervening purely on the basis of rights of people to access clean water, which is our responsibility. But we are performing that responsibility together with municipalities to the best of our ability, working with them via various mechanisms. On Monday, with our steering committee, which I chair and co-convene it with the Premier there, we will be in Northwest, dealing with a range of issues throughout the municipalities that side. After we went to Northwest and we realized that we need to coordinate at that particular level and resolve these problems, but we will be dealing with the problems and challenges of each of the municipalities that will be affected, and the report will be led by our steering committee, led by DDG Rusimat. We do understand the challenges. Then the next one, I think they answered it on grants and so on. But just to simplify this, all these grants, while MAKE goes there via provinces, we look at WISIC and the ARBIC, and we try our best to make sure that there's value for money. But of course, it's going to take a long time to turn municipalities around, because the way they are performing, even on water, isn't satisfying at all, but we're doing our best to make sure that there's value for money and progress. And then the last one is on job creation. 2 weeks ago, we were in Molweni in KZN, where we were looking at 2 of the 4 sites where the main pipes broke during the storms. The aqueduct 1 and 2. Now, aqueduct 1 has been completed, and we have reinstated supply of water via that aqueduct, which is assisting in stabilizing water. But when we went to the two sites, we met a local Induna, local councillors and communities on their own without us asking. They thanked us and the board for employing, even if temporarily, local people when those repairs were done to the pipes, because they included a range of issues, not just reconnecting pipes, but in some cases you had to build pillars so that the pipes would cross some of these rivers where pipes were broken across, in other words, higher up through those, via those pillars, instead of the pipe crossing on the ground or below or beneath the riverbed, as it had been the case. We're doing this for resilience. So I'm saying people on their own are attesting that they do get employment from time to time, as and when there are various projects on the ground. Mopane alone is going to be appointing no less than 39 contractors, and in the course of reticulating water that come from Nandoni, they will be employing people from that area or from those communities. So it does happen. We can attest to that. Thank you very much.
Just Excellency Chair, if you're still around. Minister, I hear you. On my question, I was not really saying the department doesn't understand the challenges in the municipality. I was saying, does the department have the challenge? Chair?
I refuse Mutala to speak. I will be fired if I allow you.
I'll come after you.
Okay. No, I'm not going to speak. Because if you want to correct what the minister is seeing, if you are now creating a dialogue. The minister is responding, and he has responded very well. When you will be in a position to chair the meeting, because I'm in a tax space, you can continue putting your thing if you want to. Can you move?
Chair, no, mine is very straightforward. I was just saying to the minister, I was not saying the department doesn't understand, but I was asking if the department does have the challenges faced by the municipality in their hands, like on the fingers of their tips. And the minister is saying yes, although their intervention is limited in some instances. And that's the question. I couldn't say the department doesn't understand, whereas the department is the one that always briefs us on the challenges that faced by municipality. Thank you. I don't know whether Member Mshala still wants to come in, Chair. It seems as if Member Mshala is no more there. No, Sipo, are we closing?
Yes, Chairperson, we are done.
Thank you very much, members, department. Thank you very much. The meeting is officially closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Acting Chair.
Andiva.
Thank you.
Ulikile Tsiki.
Askisi.
Elile Fundi.